That's right, we are live. We're live every day at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday. It is Orange and Blue today. It is Cecil, Lammey. It is Andrew Mason. It is canned rock music. But we are here with you to talk about your Denver Broncos and what's going to go on with this team. And oh, Mace, the stories we can tell about the Denver Broncos. And I don't know. I guess I feel a little bit more relaxed today. It's the day after. Mondays we're reacting to the game. Tuesday, I think it's all just settled in.
Yeah, it's, by the way, that canned rock music. That's production music, right? So
exactly.
It's library music. There's been some good library music. Isn't like the longtime theme of Monday Night Football, Heavy Action? I think that's library music. For example.
I think so, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. The People's Court theme, I think, was library music. Yeah, I mean, I love that. That might be my favorite theme music of any show ever. It's if you're a lawyer, do you ever listen to the People's Court theme before you're about to go for a trial?
Exactly. Is that like a football player?
Yeah, you're driving to the courthouse and you just want to get in the right move. Dun 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 dun.
Right. See, this is what we have to do because the Broncos stink. So.
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious! This show, this season is something. I mean, I that's why I asked Nathaniel Hackett yesterday at the press conference. I mean, could you possibly in your worst nightmare have seen it going like this? I mean. I actually this morning I found myself down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Okay.
And do you remember when Hackett and Justin Alton were at the Nuggets game back in February, on February the 4th?
Yes.
And they're interviewed in the in arena show, and Justin Alton says we're going to score a lot of points, and the crowd goes crazy.
Yes.
And here we are talking about a team that is dead last in points per game. Oh man, it's just, it's terrible. I mean, it's tragic, not in a general sense, but in a football sense. I mean, it's tragic kind of in the Shakespearean sense, right? I mean, when you're saying, hey, we're going to score a lot of points, and then you get out there and you crash and burn.
Well, I think it's so sad, Mace, because the time in the NFL is so limited. Yeah. This isn't an 82-game season. This isn't 100 million games like baseball. And no, actually, what is it, 162?
162. Right? Oh, yes.
Okay, good. I'm right. Hey, I know something about baseball.
It's ask me the baseball questions.
Exactly. You only have so many of these. And to be a team that would be 8-1 if you'd only scored 18 points a game, which would be 27th or 24th in the league, like 18 points a game isn't much to ask for. You can't even do that because if you did, you'd be 8-1 and then everything would be different. And that's the thing. Like you only get 17 of these. That's it. There's not a lot of time to adjust and regroup and come back. Like you got to hit this thing running.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we all thought it would be there might be an adjustment period over the course of the first half or the first few games of the season. I think we all thought that like that first month, those first 4 games, that it might be a little bit of a feeling out.
But against those teams, we felt like, hey, if you got to adjust, you're adjusting against some poor teams.
Right. And then so the first quarter of the season, the Broncos score 16, 16, 11, and 23. So it's 32, 43, and there's a safety involved as well. So they scored 59 points a game in the first, 59 points in the first 4 games. And so that is, no, my math is off actually. 16, 32, 43, and then 23. So that'd be 66 because they played the Raiders. So they averaged 15.5 points per game, right? I think, or 16.5. 16.5.
Don't make me do math.
This is what happens when you try to do math in your head. 16.5 points per game. And if you take out the safety, and even 16.0 points per game in the first 4 games. And then the 4 games after that, it's what? 9, 16, 25, 9. That's 34, 55. So they went down in this first 4 games, 16 offensive points per game. In the second 4 games, a little under 14 offensive points per game. And then to start the third quarter of the season, 10. It's getting worse. That's the thing. It wasn't a settling out period. It has gotten worse as the season has gone on. That's extraordinarily damning for this team.
Yes, extraordinarily damning for this team. And now you're facing a Raiders team that is the laughingstock because Jeff Saturday shows up in a move that honestly, you and I could do 3 hours on the Saturday thing. I think it's honestly a slap in the face to the NFL. That Jeff Saturday would get hired. Again, that's a larger subject. If we want to dance around it, we can, but I think you are spitting in the face of the integrity of the game when you hire a guy off the street with no coaching experience like that. But anyways,
it's why Bill Cowher reacted the way he did.
Yes. And then Cowher, don't apologize. Okay.
Don't
apologize.
He was
right. He was right. And then he had to walk it back because they flipping won. They beat the Raiders. The Raiders suck.
And also, with all respect to Jeff Saturday or any other interim coach, we all know about the phrase dead cat bounce, right?
Yep.
It often happens. You win your first game under an interim coach. Doesn't mean that the interim coach is going to be the answer, right?
Right. Didn't that happen with Steve Wilkes? Or they trade Christian McCaffrey, and then all of a sudden, like, the Panthers look good, and then what happens the next couple of weeks? The wheels fall off.
Yeah. Well, I think they actually lost the first game with Wilkes to the Rams, but then they beat the Buccaneers.
Yes.
Now, I will say this. Now that we've had like a 5-game sample size with Wilkes, it's apparent the team is playing harder. Yes. Is it more talented? No, because you took C-Mac out of there. Are they playing with more fire, more energy? Are they better coached?
Focused?
Oh my goodness, yes. They're night and day compared from where they were in the Matt Rule era. And by the way, whenever I think of Matt Rule, it will always be the whole thing about how it took Jay-Z 7 years and he had to start his own agency before he got big, which I'm like, is that really how I don't know. Jay-Z was already big before he got his own agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Like I heard that and I'm like, that's kind of mislabeling the whole arc here.
Kind of don't understand anyway.
But the thing is, he thinks he's connecting with his guys by making a Jay-Z reference that isn't completely accurate. And I'm sure everyone else in the room is like, Coach, that's not how it was.
Wait a second. Yeah, that's not how it worked.
Anyway, I'm ranting and raving here.
We're ranting and raving because I have to know, and it's something I wrote about at denverfan.com. Hey, Nathaniel Hackett, nice guy, and he's not a good coach. He's a good person. He's not a good coach. I think that was the headline. But I asked the question, will he get fired if he loses to Josh McDaniels? So I will ask you the same question I asked within that article. Will Nathaniel Hackett be fired if he loses to Josh McDaniels, knowing that McDaniels is terrible, the Raiders are terrible, and McDaniels lost to Jeff Saturday? The optics would not be kind if that happens.
It's something that I think I would have dismissed as not happening, but I think it's distinctly possible they make a move if they lose this game.
And just think, dude, that you are rationed and you're reasoned with your Broncos takes. This isn't any sort of shock jock, react to me type stuff. Like, you're very rationed. And we've talked about Hackett getting fired during the year, and both you and I have been like, nah, it's not going to happen. Hey, whoa. It could happen. It could happen if you lose, and I'm not even going to say lose close, but like if you lose bad against the Raiders, I think it definitely happens. If you lose close against the Raiders, it still might happen.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in play that I think we couldn't have conceived being in play at the start of this season.
Right.
And look, and part of it also is if things do continue to unravel and it's apparent that it's just not going to work. I mean, not that it may already be apparent, but you sometimes want to give every chance to the person that you hired. Yeah, it is legitimately possible that if things don't get turned around here in the next, not just 2 weeks, but the next 4 or 5 weeks, that they do give their defensive coordinator a look. I mean, the thing that would compound all of this season that is basically looking like a complete wreck, the thing that would compound it is if Ejiro Evero goes out the door, goes somewhere else as a head coach and succeeds.
Yes.
Because then you're like, we had that guy in our building and we let him go. So if things get to a certain point of no return for Nathaniel Hackett, which could be with a loss on Sunday, I could absolutely see them wanting to give Evero a look because, I mean, all you have to do, it doesn't take much digging to see that you've got a team that has a great defense. And this defense, in terms of its proficiency, you can put this defense alone alongside the 2015 defense. It's that good in what it's doing. And it's being asked to do more because it's getting absolutely no support from the worst offense in football.
It's like the 2016 Broncos defense, the year after Super Bowl 50. It's like, would we have to do everything? I guess we do. And here's the thing, Mace. To me, the long-term health of this franchise is much more important than anything else, individual accolades, whatever. It reminds me, I'll make everybody mad, but it reminds me when Gary Kubiak wouldn't play Paxton Lynch. Like, what if you had, Gary? I know you hated Paxton. I know Paxton was terrible and Paxton was awful and he played video games all the time. Like, but if you'd seen it before, you could have made a determination faster, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and
if you'd have seen it and put him out there and kept him out there and been like, oh, he really doesn't know what he's doing, we got to think about something else, then maybe you could have washed it away. But instead, Gary, and it's his last game, and God bless Gary Kubiak, but in his last game, he didn't want to play the guy that he hated, so he didn't play him. But to me, it's the long-term health. Nathaniel Hackett, nicest guy ever. I don't care. For me, the long-term health is Ejiro Evero that guy? Because if he is, we got 7 games. You got 6 games, whatever the number is. Like, you got like a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
You could really evaluate it. And honestly, they might be able to go on a little bit of a run with Ejiro Evero.
And then you find out, okay, maybe he's the solution here. And all the other thing is this: if they move on from Nathaniel Hackett, I do not think it is as important as some may think that the head coach has to be an offensive head coach. Right. Okay. All right. Buffalo seemed to develop Josh Allen just fine with a defensive head coach in Sean McDermott. Right. It's about having a coach that can guide the entire operation, and also then finding out, okay, what would he want to bring in, who or what would he want to bring in as an offensive coordinator. And I think if you're going to get Russell Wilson on the right path, if you move on to Ejiro Evero, I think, and as the interim head coach, I think if he does well the back half of the season, your chances are actually better with him identifying the right offensive coach for Russell Wilson than if you just say, okay, we're going to start the process over again. I do think, and we're seeing it right now at the University of Wisconsin with our old friend, former Broncos safety Jimmy Leonard, coaching up there after they fired Paul Chryst. I don't think they would have fired Paul Chryst if they didn't have Jim Leonard on the staff. But you happen to have somebody who had been the architect of the number 1 defense in FBS college football last year. So who is universally respected, had even interviewed for at least one NFL coordinator job with the Green Bay Packers. So give him a look and see what's going to happen. The results have been kind of up and down, but you're finding out, you're getting a body of work. You're seeing how he would run the program. And then if you give him the keys, at least he's got some experience. And that's another thing. I'm not one who likes to hire a first-time head coach. If I were an owner, I would always hire somebody with head coaching experience. If you lose this game and you do make a move, here's a chance to give a potentially qualified candidate some valuable head coaching experience, so you're not making a blind decision.
Yes, and that's the long-term health of this team. And of course, Facebook, all fired up. Yeah. We always get the comments. And here's the thing, Mason. Yeah. I'm speaking for everyone. Even if you disagree with me, I'll still speak for you now. No one's happy about this.
No.
We're not happy that you have to fire your head coach. I'm not happy that Nathaniel Hackett is bad at his job. But I have 2 eyes, and I understand reality. And the reality of the situation is Nathaniel Hackett is not cut out to be a head coach in the NFL. We've seen enough. So when I say fire him, there's no joy in my heart. There's no joy in the fact that a nice man, a good person, someone we all can root for, has to lose his job. But I don't care about Nathaniel Hackett and his feelings. I care about the Denver Broncos, and what's best for this team seems to be trending towards a divorce between Hackett and the Broncos. And I'm okay with that because I always am going to side on what's best for the team.
Yeah, I mean, look, would I like to see the Broncos win the next 4 in a row and Hackett find his footing as a head coach? Damn right I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he is a good person. Like, this is a genuinely good human being.
Yep.
Right. And that's part of what's so hard watching this on a human level. I have a lot of respect for Nathaniel Hackett. I think he's a different kind of personality than we have seen as a coach. He's not a typical football guy, and I think it has been refreshing. But something's not clicking. I mean, here he is. He's an offensive coach, and you're dead last in scoring offense. You're not only dead last in scoring offense, you have the fewest touchdowns through 9 games of any team in Broncos history, tied with the I believe the 1971 team. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can't ignore the results. Everyone says it's a bottom line business. The bottom line has been poor, and we're seeing some comments here, including this one from Eddie Orange Crush Tafoya. It's going to be so hard watching this game. On one hand, if we lose Hackett, it could be gone. On the other hand, I never like losing the Raiders. You've got people that are probably because some fans want to move because fans want to move on. You're going to have some Broncos fans that maybe are sitting there saying, "Hey, it's better to lose this game for the long-term health of the team." Can you believe that? The Raiders, the arch rivals. And I know Eddie is not alone in this sentiment because I've seen it in my @mentions on social media the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And we hear it on the radio. We know what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying fire Nathaniel Hackett. The other people are saying, like Alessandro here, it's Russell Wilson's fault. Well, Wilson got paid. It may be Russell Wilson's fault, but he got paid. So he's here, and you're going to deal with it, and they're going to find a coach that works with Russell Wilson.
Your only path out of this long-term is fixing Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Because you have too much of your team invested in him. Your first path is, in the short term, fixing him. I mean, you look at his passer rating, you look at his QBR, you can look at any number of metrics, and you do just a quick examination of the season-long numbers, and this year sticks out like a sore thumb. So what you are doing, if and when you do move on, is you are, whether it's as a head coach or an offensive coordinator, you are looking for the person that is going to have the best shot of ensuring that this year is an anomaly. That if he doesn't get back to maybe his peak years, at least he gets back to kind of where he was last year, right? You can do perfectly at that, upper mid tier. You can do perfectly fine with that if that's who and what he is, and then down the line, if that doesn't get fixed, then you start looking at, okay, sunk cost. What do we do here? I mean, just an example of the type of conversations that I've had in recent days. And the types of thoughts that have gone through my mind in recent days that I never thought would be the case. I actually thought to myself, if Russ, one way or another, if he doesn't get it turned around next year, do you seriously think about taking a Drake May in 2024 and saying, like, okay, he's going to sit behind Russ in 24, and then you hand him the keys toward the end of 24 and 25, you take the $49 million of dead money and just swallow it while you play a young and extremely promising quarterback like Drake May out of North Carolina appears to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that
I can't believe
we're saying that.
Yeah.
But again, long-term health of this team. If it's not working with Russ, you give him another year, you give him a new coach, you give him everything he needs. And if it's not working, just regroup one more year. He's starting, young guy sitting, and it's okay. I mean, my God, Carson Palmer sent behind John Kitna. Okay, I understand everyone wants to rush everyone in there, but like you can have a kid sit, no matter how promising he is. Steve McNair set for how long? Like Chris Chandler, 2 years.
2 years,
and then he became a Hall of Fame type of player. Like, okay, for me, if that's the best answer, and it's one more year, and Russ isn't quite himself, and some rookie sitting there, fine, I'm okay with that.
And if you're worried about the awkwardness, tough. Everybody ought to be able to handle that.
Yeah, you're a professional, and you've given Russell Wilson everything. And
can you tell him already sold on Drake May, by the way? I admit.
Yeah, you brought that up. I was like, nice pull, Mace. Nice pull.
It's a little bit of a man crush for me watching him play. Okay. But I'm old enough, Cecil, to remember when his dad played at North Carolina, Mark May. And Mark was an extremely highly touted quarterback prospect. coming out of, I believe, Independence High School in Charlotte. But he had a shoulder injury pretty quickly. And they sent him to go see Dr. Frank Jobe, who is renowned for being the guy who pioneered Tommy John surgery. And Jobe took a look at at Mark May's shoulder and said, unfortunately, it's messed up. He's got the shoulder of a 40-year-old picture because he'd done so much with it growing up and was injured. And so Mark May never became the guy that a lot of people thought he was. But when I see Drake May, I see what I thought Mark May could be and was going to be. But it just shows that you and I are old enough to remember things back in the 80s. So I get a little bit of some positive goosebumps when I watch him play, because I remember being a kid seeing Mark May, and every so often, even through the pain, you'd see the glimpse of a guy who could I think, what was it? Gary Kubiak said something about something through a tornado or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Drake's got that kind of ability.
Daniel asks on Facebook, what's the job security of Peyton? I think he's more than fine.
I think he's fine too. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that are like, if you hear our station, you hear the talk that it should go at his feet. And the other thing, it's different for a general manager. The other thing is GMs generally get one whiff on a coach, right?
Right.
Yeah. And if you move on, Hackett's his whiff.
And it is Hackett, and Fangio wasn't the whiff. When George Payton, who's an incredible bright man, he's incredibly bright, because I remember when this was said, and he's like, I came here because of Vic Fangio, and everybody lost their mind, like, oh my God, he loves Vic Fangio. No, read into it. He came here because of Vic Fangio, because he knew, and he properly did give him tools to work with. Not everything, but he gave Vic Fangio enough, and hell, they won more than they're going to win this year. But he gave Fangio what he could have used. Mm-hmm. And he knew he came here for Fangio because he knew he could replace him.
Yeah,
that's why George Payton came here.
And also, I mean, everyone likes Vic Fangio's defensive mind. I mean, you look at a lot of the struggles that the Shanahan-McVay offenses are having. They're seeing a lot of those Fangio concepts. They're seeing that cloud coverage, right? And Vic's kind of the OG of that. That was part of the reason you wanted to kind of be around him. You want to know something that's going to blow people's minds? Vic Fangio is going to get at least 1 or 2 head coaching interviews in this next cycle.
Right.
And it might not go anywhere, but people are going to want to pick his brain, because what is working defensively stems from his concepts.
Yes, he's the trendy defense in today's NFL. He's not even in the league. Scoring is down. Offenses are struggling. Why? Because people are running a Fangio system.
Right. I mean, Ejiro Evero is running a metric ton of Fangio concepts right now. Now, I'd say one of the reasons why he's doing better is because he has some different influences. He'll mix in some cover zero. Don't forget, with Ejiro Evero, he worked under Monty Kiffin, and of course he worked under Wade Phillips. So to me, one of the reasons why I like Evero so much is, there are like the four biggest and the 4 most prominent defensive minds philosophically in 21st century football are Monty Kiffin, Vic Fangio, Wade Phillips, and the late Jim Johnson. And the other 5th guy I'd throw in there is Dick Geron. He's worked around more than half. He's worked under more than half of those guys.
Yeah. So coaching bloodline.
Right. And so what and Evero is very, he's his language schematics, there are a lot of Fangio stuff, but you see some Wade Phillips stuff and you see some Monty Kiffin stuff there as well. And that's one of the things I love about him, is that he has been around so much that he can just kind of take a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Great ones,
right?
Own system. That's the sign of a great one yourself. And Chris asks, all right, what's Hackett going to do changing the offense? Like, he should have already done that.
Yes, thank you.
Like Jacob says, we need Clint Kubiak. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Like, Hackett should have already done this. That's it. Like, everything was on the. And if you wanted to wait to the bye, and it should have been this Tennessee game, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Chris. I agree with him changing. I agree with Jacob. Like, I agree with you guys. And we should have already seen it. Doing it now is just too late. Yeah,
it should have happened early. I mean, shoot, to kind of also go way back, trying to, and some of it is on Russ wanting to transition himself to be a different kind of quarterback as he ages. It should never have been done in one chunk. It should have been, bits and pieces to try to make him more a pocket quarterback. Let an evolution happen, not a hard pivot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is also, thinking about playing until you're 43 years old. That's not something you can focus on. I mean, everyone kind of went, crazy in a positive way in the offseason. Oh, you could be getting Russell for 10 years. I mean, no, think about right now. And if you focus on now and you focus on things day to day, the future will mostly take care of itself.
Yep. It's amazing how in football and life, Mace, there's some life lessons from Andrew Mason right here. Because when you want to do something, whatever you want to do in life, take steps towards that. And what you find as you do that, and you're going to take smaller steps, you can't get there all at once. Yeah. But as you take those smaller steps, more and more opportunities open for you. More and more things happen organically because you have taken those steps. It's like I always tell the young people that get in this industry and they're like, where's my show? And I'm like, well, get in line. And did you start a podcast? Did you start something where you can slowly start taking those steps? Can you do a daily show? Can you talk for 30 minutes by yourself? Can you do these sorts of things to train yourself so that when you do get that opportunity, you are ready for that opportunity? That's how life works. And that's how football works. That's how it should have worked with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, and I also, that is to kind of pivot back to something we talked about earlier. Part of that is why a lot of people in the football community were so, torqued about Jeff Saturday kind of walking in and being a head coach. Where were the dues paid, right? It's you gotta work your way up. I long ago, Cecil, I was, there walking on the sidelines at high school games with a notepad, right? That's just, that's what you do. Before we go, we do need to talk about the personnel moves today on the roster. You got Tom Compton, who is activated off the PUP, Billy Turner going on IR. So Cam Fleming expected back. You can kind of see the path to Cam Fleming being back at left tackle, Tom Compton likely working at right tackle.
Which we said was good. Forward. Like, that's actually a good thing.
So Quinn Bailey then kind of goes back to being practice squad in reserve. But interesting move, Jonathan Harris up from the practice squad after playing a good chunk of the snaps on Sunday, and Tyree Cleveland cut.
A four-phaser.
Yeah, the core special teamer, as Dwayne Stukes said, and now he's just gone altogether. There's a lot to this. There's a lot to this. Now, there is a play that I want to go back and investigate because James Marilat was talking about this both on the air and during the meeting. That Tyree Cleveland seems to not know what a play is at a certain point in the second half. That not doing what he's supposed to do. But I do think another role that's being played in Tyree Cleveland being cut today is this. Kendall Hinton, 62 yards on Sunday. Jalen Virgil, 1 catch for 66 yards. You've got Brandon Johnson on the practice squad. He was brought back after he recovered from the injury. The point being, they've got other options there. Kendall Hinton can be your four-phaser who also is simply a better wide receiver than Tyree Cleveland is. And Jalen Virgil, he's going to get some reps as well. It's baffling to kind of look back at the play count, Cecil, on Sunday and see that Tyree Cleveland played 27 offensive snaps. I'm like,
where was more Jalen Virgil?
Thank you. Yeah, that's the guy who should have been getting those reps, not Tyree Cleveland. Think about this. In one day, Jalen Virgil and Kendall Hinton had 128 combined receiving yards. That exceeds the career receiving yardage total of Tyree Cleveland. Okay? And so, basically this is, all right, the train, they've got other options. The train kind of just basically left the station, and Tyree Cleveland's not going to be on it. Oh well, such is life. Yeah, Tyree Cleveland, 8 catches, 91 yards in his career. 128 yards combined for Jalen Virgil and Kendall Hinton. Wow. And Kendall Hinton, by the way, whenever they put him out there,
he's sick.
Yeah, he does something good every game he's asked to play extensively.
And he's playing in Jerry Jeudy's spot, which he didn't practice in.
Right. I mean, at some point, you gotta reward, and sometimes you have to punish as well. Someone gets punished, and you gotta reward the guys for going above and beyond. I mean, to me, I'm playing Kendall Hinton and Jalen Virgil a heck of a lot more going forward.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Kendall Hinton in particular has earned it. And he actually appears to have good chemistry with Russell Wilson. As we've talked about, he comes back to the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, he's
got the dog. Like KJ's got some dog in him, of course, lots of dog. But Kendall quietly has dog in him.
Yeah,
he does.
Kendall, if I were running a team, Kendall Hinton would have a place on it.
I want every
forget it. With all respect to 22 Janos, I want 22 Kendall Hintons on my roster.
Oh, and with that, we wrap up today's show. That is a wrap for Orange and Blue today, every day, Monday through Friday at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It is Cecil Lammey. It is Andrew Mason. Don't besmirch the name of Grover Rodeo, Kevin. Anyway, the biggest little rodeo in the West. Follow Mace on Twitter at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. We're at 104.3 The Fan. As always, be safe, be kind, know that you're appreciated. Stay tuned, and please, I ask you to stay frosty.